should we bring up our storied past with Wally now or after the intro?
What's storied past?
That you are silly and don't think this movie is amazing.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we can. I feel like that's a first impression thing.
Okay, we'll get into it later.
Okay.
Welcome everyone to Afterthoughts. This is a podcast where we rewatch movies and compare our first and second impressions of those movies, as well as discuss a related topic. My name is Joshua Kazemi, and I'm here with my co-host Cole, the Coleman, Taylor Thomas.
Hello.
So sad.
I was going for sad today.
Why?
Because this movie's so sad.
No, it isn't.
And pathetic and stupid.
Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. We're in for a crazy episode. This week we're talking about Wall-E from 2008, Time Magazine's Movie of the Year.
Movie of the Year, what a joke.
Jeez. All right, you know what? Let's just go. I want to get to the point as fast as we can. Before we dive in to our first impressions, Coleman's going to take us through the plot of Wall-E.
All right. So the plot. Earth's been overrun with trash because we're terrible human beings and have just been super wasteful and self-centered and all those things. So we've gone to space and left these Wall-E robots behind to clean up our mess. And once they've cleaned it all up, we can come back. So it opens with just Wall-E, pretty much cleaning up Earth by himself. All the other Wall-E robots they're done for. And another robot called Eve comes back to Earth to check if there's any living plants or anything left. And she's checking around. She can't find anything, but she finds Wall-E, or Wall-E finds her, or kind of both. And they start hanging out in robot ways, I guess. And and Wall-E's like a very human robot, wants to find love as a robot, I guess. Mm-hmm. At least hold her hand. I know that much. And but in the midst of their romantic robot shenanigans, she finds a potted plant that Wall-E found earlier, and it like sets off her sensor, and then it calls back the ship that brought her, and she gets taken back to the main ship that all the humans are on to tell them, hey, there's plants, we gotta go back to Earth. And Wall-E goes with her as like a stowaway on the ship she's on, and the captain apparently of the ship now, they've been gone so long that he didn't even know really anything about Earth or what was left there. They've just been living on this ship now, and they're all overweight because they sit on these floating chairs and just eat and look at screens all day. I guess it's a commentary on real life. I don't know. But, yeah. And so the captain's thinking about going back, but suddenly the plant's missing and there seems to be a conspiracy behind it. It's like, oh, what's going on? And the story unfolds, and it's about whether or not they go back to Earth, and will Wall-E find Eve on this ship again because she keeps getting taken away? Who knows, Who knows? That's the plot. At least that's where I'll stop.
Yeah. Good. Very good. Very good movie. Very good plot. Summary, all around good. I saw this opening weekend. Was very excited for it. This was at a time where Pixar could do no wrong. Every movie was a big deal and it was exciting. So saw it opening weekend.
So wait, was this before Cars? Is that what we're saying?
No, it was after Cars. Everyone was
Pixar
like,
could do wrong.
No, but okay, at the time before Cars 2, it was like Cars is okay. It's not terrible.
Yeah,
I feel like in retrospect, people have talked down Cars 1, but at the time it was just like, yeah, Cars, that's fine.
No,
but after Cars, it was Ratatouille and then Wall-E. Anyways, I loved it. It's probably my favorite movie from 2008.
Of course,
I enjoyed everything about it, and I was so just impressed that Pixar could do this, not only make another great movie, but do something really different from all of the work they've done before. Mostly no dialogue in the first half of the movie. Is very little dialogue. The camera tells the story. It's very visual. There's a lot of impressive there's just a lot of impressive filmmaking in this movie that I was blown away by, that you don't necessarily expect from a G-rated quote-unquote kids movie.
No.
Like, this felt like impressive, sophisticated stories, or a movie even for Pixar. I've always loved this movie. I wrote papers on this movie in college on, like, several, you know.
Of course
love
you
this
did.
movie. Love this movie. I could go on.
You picked an animated movie to do papers on? Come on. Be more highbrow. Let's be real.
No,
Animated movies aren't movies.
I wrote about its score. I wrote about its cinematography, its storytelling. Several papers. Really, I did.
Well, while I was joking about what I said about animated films, I saw this movie when we went on a trip to Florida. We were just like there, and the group I was with was like, hey, let's just go see WALL-E. So we went, saw WALL-E, and it's not that I hated it. I was just underwhelmed. Severely underwhelmed by anything else that Pixar had been put out. I was just like, that's it. That's all to this movie.
Oh, man.
I know. There just wasn't a lot of talking in the beginning, and then they got back to the ship. And I think I was kind of just freaked out that there were humans at all in this movie, and that earlier they were real humans, and now they're very much like 3D animated humans.
Right.
And it was just a weird movie to me. I remember thinking, this is weird.
Mm-hmm.
But that was all I really thought. I mean, it was in high school. I remember that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2008.
Have you seen
for
it
sure.
since?
No, actually. That was it.
Interesting. Yeah.
That was the only time. And I don't know. It's not that I hated it. It's still a Pixar movie. It's just that I was never blown away. I never even really thought it was that good either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It didn't fascinate me like it fascinated most people.
Yeah. I've seen this several times.
Of course you have.
And I remember in high school, the release date of the DVD, I took the BART down to the mall in San Francisco, and I bought a copy on the day it came out, and I still have that copy. That's the one I watched this week. Well, I love this movie. And I probably had I had no doubts that this would hold up. I knew it would. Well, that's what I thought before I rewatched it.
You know, it'd be awesome if it didn't.
What did you think? This is the first time you're watching it since high school.
I expected it to be the same, honestly.
Wow.
I know.
Very interesting. How did you feel? I remember people who didn't like WALL-E would always make the comment of, like, they just couldn't connect two robots falling in love. Was that an issue for you?
I don't think so.
Okay. Good for you. Because that never bothered me. I love how, like, hopelessly romantic it is. You know, I
think it's just that it's robots in general. You know, boring.
Come on.
It's not robots falling in love. That's fine. Fine with that.
Yeah.
Just two robots on Earth, though. Come on.
So none of the, like, it's unique, was unique to Pixar at the time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it was, like, shot, it looks like it was shot on film, and the cinematography of the movie looks like an actual movie. None of that, like, impressed you at all?
No, especially not in high school for sure.
Okay.
You know what? This movie looks like it was shot on film. Super impressed.
There's just
now.
like, there are literally parts of the movie where, like, the subject goes out of focus, the camera readjusts, refocuses, and zooms in. Like, you know, mostly when they're on Earth. But it's like, this animated camera is acting like a real camera. And I was like, whoa, Pixar's doing that. That's cool.
Yeah, wouldn't have noticed in high school. Wouldn't have cared. Barely even noticed now.
Oh, brother. Oh,
I feel
boy.
like
Okay.
you go to film school just to learn how to appreciate film, which is ridiculous.
It helps. I mean, it helps for sure.
I mean,
some people, it, like, ruins it for them. That is not the case for me. I just appreciate everything more.
yeah. I think it's so funny. Like, you don't really notice those things not going to film school, but then you go to film school, learn about those things, and now you're like, oh, I appreciate that.
The point is, like, for people who don't know the vocabulary or how things are done, all of those decisions, the things that I appreciate, they're supposed to affect the viewer subconsciously, add to the entire thing.
Right.
So that, for whatever that is, that translates to, like, me commenting on the fact that the camera zooms out or is in and out of focus is supposed to subconsciously tell the viewer like that you're sort of in on this moment. Like the camera's acting like your eyes. And so that moment's supposed to feel a little bit more intimate, or like you're more in the room than you are a fly on the wall.
But isn't that funny that we'll never be able to judge that because it's supposed to subconsciously affect you. Yeah. So if you never notice those things, you're never going to know if you actually feel more intimate or there. We can only appreciate it as a film person who went to film school and knows the techniques. You can say, I appreciate that they attempted to try and make you feel more connected to this moment, but you'll never actually know if it worked.
I guess not. Although in our first impressions, I noticed it and liked the movie. You didn't and didn't. You didn't notice that and you didn't like the movie. I did notice it and I did like the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. There is a correlation.
I don't know.
But correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation. I don't know if that phrase applies here at all, but I used it.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay, any other first impressions?
Nope, that was pretty much it.
Okay, I think so too. So yes, let's dive into second. Second for you, like 100th for me. What did you think? What do you think now, as an adult, rewatching WALL-E?
Still not my favorite at all.
Okay,
or even close. Sorry, but
oh boy,
I do see what you're saying. I do understand the appreciative value of what's going on in this movie. Especially the fact that it is two robots and they're falling in love. And it's funny, the part that I thought was so boring the first time watching it is kind of the part I found most interesting this time watching it. Just them two being on Earth. There's not a lot of dialogue. Wally's just saying Wally over and over. But it was interesting. I really enjoyed that part of the movie. But I don't know. I, for some reason, just feel like there's not a lot of substance to this movie. Especially in the latter half. It just feels very simple. And I mean, I'm sure that's what they're going for. I don't know. I still, at the end of it, kind of feel like that's it. That's it. But, yes, I do appreciate it more than
Okay.
a little high schooler.
Okay.
What was yours?
I still love this movie, for sure. But there are a couple of things that I think maybe I noticed this time around that I'd never really have, that I wouldn't say I dislike them, but they're just, they stick out a little bit. Like the fact that the movie does really feel like a first half and a second half.
Oh, yeah.
And they're two very different halves, which again, like I think you said, it seems intentional, but still sort of sticks out as two very distinct halves of a movie. Almost like two different episodes or something. So there's that. And then the thing that maybe bothered me a little bit the first time I watched it, but didn't really think about it too much, but definitely has bothered me more and more as time goes on, is that there are live action segments of the movie. That's weird. Like there are real humans and then there are CG humans. Yeah, it seems unnecessary.
I still don't like that.
Yeah, I really don't know what that might add to this. Like, and then the thing that makes it even worse is this idea that that it's there's like that moment where they pan across all the different captains and it starts live action and ends up CG. It's
CG, right? Exactly.
What are we supposed to have become CG animated? It's weird. It's that element of it is, I think, it's kind of off-putting, and I don't feel like it was necessary at all. Yeah. So those two things were in my head, like, yeah, that's kind of strange. But gosh, all the stuff I said in the first impression, I still think is true. The sound design in the first half of the movie is amazing because there is a lack of dialogue. So it's just sound and visual, and the way that they tell that story, the way that they get across information, the way that you learn about this little character and Eve and their relationship, all that is told visually and with sound, and it's just so cool and so impressive. It amazes me that Pixar was able to do that. I really can't see another studio doing that as well as Pixar did here in WALL-E. No. And I just feel like WALL-E deserves recognition for it, just on that alone. It's just so good and so
I
cool.
wouldn't go that far. But one thing I did find, and I kind of hinted on this, is that I really did enjoy Wall-E and Eve this time around. I don't like throughout the whole movie. I really don't enjoy the second half that much, but just I don't know, their relationship and everything they do, how it's so simple, but they're like, and they're just robots, but you can still like connect to that. I don't know. It's funny that you asked me my first impression if that's what was off-putting to me, but and that's like what drew me to the movie the most the second time around for sure. But it really falls apart for me in the second half, and it's just like a mishmash of things. It's that there's just a lot going on. It's that they're CGI, and I get it's kind of a commentary on that, like they're alone in the beginning, and it's like this simple thing, and then it's like to juxtapose against what like humans are now, like the differences, and I get that, but I still don't like it. I don't know. It feels too thrown together at the end for me.
Mm-hmm. I guess that the robots down on Earth are acting more human, or get to experience what human life kind of was, and then they go off into space where the humans actually are, and they're like detached and isolated and all that stuff. Yeah, I get all that too. It's the same sort of thing. That's not the draw for me. It is Eve and it's Wall-E. And the second half of the movie is like, it's just this sort of necessary stuff that to finish off the movie. It's like we get to know the characters, we get to see them interact with one another. We see that Wall-E loves Eve, and then Eve comes around to Wall-E, and by that point we like those characters, we're invested with those characters, and then we're just sort of like seeing where the rest of the movie takes them, as opposed to like that first chunk where it really is, it's fascinating and interesting, and you're just hanging on every moment and seeing what's going to happen. It's just that element of it is so strong that even if the second half isn't that strong, in comparison, within the same movie, it sticks out like a second half that isn't as strong.
Right. And it's just like what you said. The second half just feels like a necessary portion of a movie, like a conclusion you have to justify the beginning of the movie. Yeah. And that kind of ruins the overall, even if the first half is fascinating, it still just kind of ruins the overall movie for me. Yeah. The second half is very much like a kid's movie. For sure. You know? And the first half is this amazing setup for it. But it's just so amazing. I still just love that first half of the movie so much. I know. It's just such impressive animated storytelling to me. If they could have fine-tuned the ending and just how everything played out, I think I would have enjoyed it better. Yeah. Because the first half of a movie being really great from a film appreciative standpoint and being fascinating just still doesn't justify like an entire film not being as great. Yeah. There could have been something to this, like, what I like so much about Wall-E is that he's this trash compactor who's got one job, but he's become alone on Earth, and he's become this collector. He's become sentimental and romantic and all this stuff. And then after they set him up, the rest of the movie, he has one goal, and it's just to be with Eve, and that's kind of it. He never has to like make a decision beyond like following her onto the Axiom. He doesn't really have too much conflict in terms of like what he wants and what he decides to do. There are like things that get in his way, and it's like they're like silly little antics, but it could have been interesting if Wall-E had to like choose between saving the people on the Axiom and being with Eve or something like that. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's not a kid's movie anymore. Probably not. You know? Like maybe that's tough to convey with a character that doesn't talk, all that kind of stuff. Like because of this really interesting setup they were sort of stuck with a simple second half. Yeah. Because they limited themselves, which caused for really great creative work in the beginning and then sort of standard stuff in the end. Another thing that I don't know how I feel about, because I give Wall-E robot characteristics. Obviously, he's a robot, and mostly he only says Wall-E. And they give you the illusion of he only has one job, but he's very human for a robot. And
Yeah.
I understand they're trying to convey that, he's watched these human movies, so that's where he gets his human qualities. But he's super, like, very human by the end. He's come to, like, appreciate these things he's finding in trash and acts like he's going to work. And obviously wants to fall in love with Eve. And just all these human characteristics. And I don't know how I feel. Like, I get it's a kid's movie, but at the same time, if he's a robot programmed to clean up trash, how did this ever happen? How did he become what he is? I don't know. That kind of bugged me just a little bit in the movie. But at the end, I'll still also be like, well, it's a kid's movie, so I get it.
Oh man, so in your list of Pixar movies, it's pretty low.
It's pretty low, I'd say.
Okay.
It's certainly not Cars level, but
Good.
still low.
Yeah, would you put this above Brave?
I think so. I honestly would like to do Brave just like this again, but probably.
I think Brave. I think we could decimate Brave.
Maybe. The only reason I'm not sure is just because while I admit Brave isn't that great, it also is the kind of... It's like the thematic elements I enjoy.
Of Brave?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I could honestly see it being below WALL-E because I could totally see us just destroying that movie. But
yeah,
it's whatever.
Sure.
I honestly remember being underwhelmed with that movie just like this one. Because I remember seeing the trailer and thinking like, oh, this is like got the fantasy elements, which I enjoy. And then what it was just like...
Mm-hmm. I was very disappointed with Brave, for sure. And obviously I really liked WALL-E, so...
Obviously.
And still really do. I think this movie's always going to be like a movie that I very much appreciate. Like the animation is it's gorgeous, and it's there's too much good in the movie for me to ever dislike it on any level. Like even if the second half, I imagine if I keep rewatching it over the years, eventually that second half is going to start to feel more and more like a chore. Despite that, getting there is so enjoyable.
Yeah.
I still really like the movie. It maybe has come down a peg or two in my list of Pixar movies, but still up there.
Yeah. I also really enjoy Eve. I think Eve's my favorite, more than WALL-E.
Eve's so great. She's so great.
I love Eve.
She's so great. I love how those two contrast each other. It's like just all the small little details in their character designs.
Yeah.
Are so smart and so great. I think that's the strength of the movie. That they made these two great characters and told us everything about them and their relationship with just visuals.
Yeah.
So cool.
I mean, that is the best part of the movie, for sure.
Yeah.
That's all I really got.
Let's head on over to our Twitter poll for this week.
Oh, let's do it.
Here we go. Twitter poll. Who is the best Pixar couple? Well, before I even tell you the choices, do you think you could list a couple choices? Which four do you think I picked?
Oh, gosh. I don't remember their names, but the couple from Up, and I bet they won.
Carl and Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked them. Who else?
Oh, I give up on remembering her name. Buzz and
Jessie.
Jessie, yes.
Yes, I picked them.
Okay. Woody and Bo Peep? Are you gonna have two Toy Story couples?
No.
Okay.
That's the reason I didn't, because I didn't want two of the same. But yeah.
I really hope you didn't pick the Cars couple.
No, I didn't. Sally and Lightning? No.
Yeah.
You're missing kind of an obvious one.
I know, and I like feel it. I feel that I'm missing it.
No, not even that. Like a very obvious one. Like, why did I choose this question?
Oh, yeah, WALL-E and Eve.
There you go. Okay, one more.
Oh goodness. No, I can't. I mean, I probably could if I thought about it, but I just don't want to waste that much time. Even if you can edit out the time, I don't want to.
Mr. and Mrs. Incredible.
Okay, yeah. I don't think I would have got them. Maybe eventually, but...
So, of those four, who do you think won?
Carl and Ellie.
You are correct.
Yeah.
40% of the vote.
Of course.
Now...
Why would anyone else win?
There are two other choices that got a good amount of votes, and there's one couple that got no votes. Which couple didn't get any votes?
Mr. and Mrs. Incredible.
Incorrect.
Dang.
They got 30% of the vote.
So you're telling me Buzz and Jesse didn't get any votes?
Buzz and Jesse got no votes.
That's insane. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's kind of like towards the end of the third one, right?
No, it happened. I guess it happens towards the end of the second a little, and then it's mostly in the third. Yeah,
it's just like hinted in the second one, though, right?
Yeah, because they don't really meet till the end of the second one. Yeah. But still, they didn't get a single vote. It's kind of like, what the heck?
That's what I would have guessed. No,
and then,
that's not true. Mr. Incredible is actually who I would have guessed. So I'm a little surprised. It's true.
You would have guessed them to have 0?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. They're the incredible couple.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Come on. And then we got a tweet response to this poll from Why Am I Watching This? And he responded, Zach and Cody. So, write-in option.
That's awesome. Zach and Cody?
Zach and Cody.
Like as in The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody?
I believe, yeah.
I mean, that's a Disney show, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, related. Not Pixar.
Not Pixar, but on the same track. It's there.
There you have it. Thanks for voting and for tweeting.
Thanks for voting and tweeting.
Just dropped my headphones.
Wow.
All right. Topic time?
Topic time.
This week, we are talking about quote-unquote silent movies. I don't know what I'll call it in the thing. It's movies with little to no dialogue.
Sorry, I thought I'd do that for dramatic effect.
Oh, I
thought
get
we
it.
just
No dialogue.
not going to talk for the rest of this podcast.
Oh, good. Yeah, just like 15 minutes of silence. The occasional dialogue.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then at the end we'll be like, so what did you think? That's good. Okay. So, yeah, just right off the bat, how do you feel about movies with no dialogue? Little to no dialogue.
Just like this, if they can pull it off, I think it's incredible. But I think it's really hard to do. And if you don't pull it off, it's really bad.
Sure. Okay. Can you, by any chance, name like a random example of like a really bad movie with little to no dialogue? Like a movie that was terrible because they couldn't pull it off?
Not off the top of my head. I'm sure I just turned it off.
Sure.
I have to think, though.
So, you know this about me, and I'm sure we've mentioned it on the podcast before. I really love... Aaron Sorkin's one of my favorite writers. Mm-hmm. And he's, dialogue extraordinaire, or at least that's what he's known for. And I really love his dialogue. I love the snappiness of it, the back and forth, and the rhythm to it. And because of that, most of the stuff I like is dialogue heavy. I like Joss Whedon because he made the Avengers witty and fun and all that stuff. Mm. But so putting that aside, I feel like movies with little dialogue are best suited for short film. I
would agree with that.
And I think even that's true for WALL-E. Like, imagine WALL-E is this spectacular short film. Yeah. But I do agree with you. I think if you can pull it off, it's like a great thing. And there are some movies out there that have done that. Little to no dialogue, feature length, great movies. So I think it's possible, but I think it's tough.
Yeah. And I usually feel like it's indie movies that like they're making a point and trying to be artistic about it. It's not usually the big blockbuster films, obviously. Yeah, that are trying to do this.
Film critics love it. Film critics love a movie that's very visual, where the camera tells the story, and you're not relying on dialogue for exposition or information or character motivation. Like, dialogue can very easily become a crutch for screenwriters. So, yeah, critics love a movie with little dialogue. That's mostly visual, and that's why a lot of like you said, indie movies and short films, student films, they tend to be little dialogue.
Right. And I mean, it just makes sense that film critics would like that, because this is the medium that you would at least attempt to do that on, obviously. You can't do it in writing. Mm-hmm. Can't do it on radio. Can't do it on this podcast. So
it's unique to film, so to utilize it is an impressive feat.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So do you have any that you really enjoy?
Yes.
WALL-E would be on there.
let's go through a little bit of a list. Actually, I guess I could start with maybe one that I think is the best. Yeah, let's try that. Let's do this. This is maybe one of the best examples. It's not a pure silent movie because silent movies are kind of they're a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
Because obviously for the longest time movies were silent.
Yeah,
but so that maybe deserves a whole nother topic. But
yeah, we're not talking about those.
Yeah, little dialogue. I think maybe one of the best examples is probably Castaway.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right? There's not a ton of dialogue in Castaway, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, but there's a lot of just Tom Hanks on an island. And it's incredible. It's like in my memory, Castaway is this amazing movie with and you're just watching this guy struggle. Absolutely.
It was one of my, I don't know why, but it was one of my like feel good movies. Like when I was sad, I would go watch Castaway. I don't know why. Doesn't make sense. It's about a guy alone on an island.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been the score. I loved that score, but
yeah,
I loved that movie.
Mm-hmm. I think you have an incredible filmmaker behind the camera, Robert Zemeckis, and an incredible actor on the other side to really sell this.
Yeah.
You know, like the absence of dialogue in this case is used as a strength.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those movies that's like, even though it's very dramatic and it's heart-wrenching at times, it's so easy to watch because it's so well made. It's got so much good talent. It's like, it's easy to watch.
Castaway.
Do you have one? Do you have a standout?
That was my standout, but
there you go.
The rest I have are just ones that I didn't think were that great, and I don't think they pulled it off.
Okay, like what?
So how about like The Revenant?
Yeah, I didn't love The Revenant.
Me either.
Mm-mm.
Did not. And it's very, I would say, cinematographic. I was trying to use the word to describe
cinematographic.
But very cinematography heavy. Focus on just the film, not as much on the dialogue and just the visuals. And I didn't think they pulled it off. I thought the story wasn't that great and that the visuals didn't make up for everything that happened in the movie. And I think that's really the crutch of this style, is that you have to be able to pull off your story pretty much purely visually. And when you don't, that's where it falls apart, at least for me.
I think the lack of dialogue could have worked if the story was a little different.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the lack of dialogues would hurt the movie, which I think is what you were saying. Like, it's just that I don't think what Leonardo DiCaprio's character was going through was that interesting. Certainly, like, compelling at times and very dramatic and very emotional. And he does a great job. Tom Hardy kind of is overdoing it, but Leo does a great job. And it's certainly captivating to an extent to watch him go through all that stuff. But I just wanted more for that character to struggle with, like, internally, like more conflict and more of like decision making. That's what I wanted to see. It just seems like he gets pissed off and then he just wants revenge, and it's boring. That's boring to me. You know, if there was a turning point of some kind for his character, that would have been great.
But I think that's what I mostly see with these movies, and why I end up not liking them, is because I think they spend so much time focusing on the visuals. They don't spend as much time like refining the story, making sure it's the best story possible with
that's interesting.
Using very little dialogue. Because another example I have is 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I didn't like that one that much either, and there's not much talking. And I think it's because the creators just spend so much time focusing on the visuals of it and what they're trying to show visually, rather than spending time on what is the best way we can use these visuals to tell a story without having much dialogue.
It's an interesting point that you bring up. Like this idea that maybe, like, because there's dialogue scenes in an average movie, the director and perhaps the writer, but definitely the director and the actors, they're talking through scenes, they're talking through dialogue, they're talking about character motivation and what the scene means, what it means for these characters, what they want. All those conversations help building towards this cohesive story that's probably better after it's been worked on than it was just on the page.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in a movie with little dialogue, and you're just talking about action set pieces and, you know, lines of action that were written in the script, maybe there's less of a conversation about why the character's feeling this way. I mean, I'm sure there is, but you know, maybe those conversations are different and you get different results because of it, perhaps. Yeah. And 2001 is an interesting example too, because I mean, I think that movie on a lot of different levels is great, but it is not enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, I would not want to sit through it and watch it. But I think that it does accomplish a lot of really incredible stuff. And, you know, everybody talks about the most famous jump cut in all of editing, all of film history. And it's like, yeah, I get that, but it's not necessarily, like, worth sitting through.
No.
I have mixed emotions on 2001, so.
I don't. I hate it. But even, like, what you were saying about how, like, you wish there were more decision-making and character development in The Revenant, like with Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and just how they could have thought through how to do that better visually, but I think they focus too much on just like what the movie looks like. Well, because for example, when you have a dialogue heavy movie, you can just flat out say, here's the decision I'm struggling with and here's the feelings I have about it. But visually you can like show, you can find some way to visually show this decision that Leonardo's struggling with, like even just like a path down two roads, one leading to revenge and one not, and then visually showing like his emotions. And I feel like this movie doesn't do that well, other than him getting destroyed by a bear and crying about it. We definitely know how he feels about that.
Yeah, there's certainly conflict, but not necessarily conflict that reflects his internal struggle.
Right. I just wish the focus was more connecting these visuals with the story that's going on, and the best way to do that. Which maybe they are, and I just don't think they pull it off that well. But if they're not, I don't know.
How did you feel about Gravity?
I remember liking Gravity. I think that was one I enjoyed.
Me too. Not a ton of dialogue. I mean, there's definitely conversations in the beginning, but once she's on her own, there's not a ton. There's one more scene after that, but that's it.
Yeah.
I love that movie, and I feel like the cinematography in that movie really does add to the internal struggle, and we feel the way she does because there's these long takes in space, and it's intense and it's gripping, and all that stuff adds to it. The lack of dialogue helps add to what we're feeling as an audience in relation to our main character.
And I think these movies are usually best when you have a simplistic plot, not to like dumb down and say this movie has to have like a dumb plot, but it's just, since you're so heavily going off visuals, it's easy to her struggle is, I've got to survive this, I got to get back to Earth, and then we just have to watch that, like what she struggles with in that simple idea of just survival.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why that movie works so well, because it's just a very simple idea, and then we extrapolate on that simple idea with these amazing visuals and just the shots like you were talking about. And I think that's how it works best.
And maybe that's a downfall of WALL-E, is because the end of WALL-E does feel simple, but the end of WALL-E has a lot of dialogue. Like people do start talking and things do start happening, but it stays that simple, you know? Like maybe the plot could have gotten more complex as being added in dialogue.
Yeah.
And more characters.
I don't know.
Did you see Drive?
I did.
Did you like that?
I don't remember much about the movie, honestly, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, me too. Same here. I think I didn't really know what to expect at all.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those movie experiences where I'm just like not sure how I'm feeling or what I'm supposed to be feeling or any of that kind of stuff. And so I just spent most of the movie in my head.
Yep.
So it's definitely one I want to rewatch, but I did not understand the hype. I thought the music was really awesome, and a lot of people talked about that. And the performances were good, but I just felt like, you know, what's the point?
Yeah. I remember it was Ryan Gosling in a cool jacket, and that's it. I think it speaks to the fact that I don't really remember what happens in that movie at all, that I didn't think it was that great.
And I mean, it's a good performance for Ryan Gosling, but the character doesn't show very much range. You know, anybody with a stoic face could have done the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, well, maybe there are subtleties that I'm forgetting. It's one to rewatch.
Sounds like a podcast movie.
It's just generally like, this isn't the case for all of this genre, but how do you feel about like westerns in general? Westerns with little to no dialogue, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
I'd really have to rewatch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly because it was one of my dad's favorite, and I saw it when I was much younger. But I have generally never been a fan of Western movies.
Okay.
Just in general.
It's not my favorite genre either, but I feel like if one genre owns little dialogue, I think Western probably does.
Yeah.
I think it's like best suited for that. Like it fits the aesthetic and most of those stories about loners and you know, stuff like that. Like it seems to fit that genre best.
Yeah.
And The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is awesome. So
yeah. Well, maybe that's why I don't like Westerns that much.
Maybe.
That's what they typically are.
You need some dialogue.
Gotta get that dialogue. I think overall, I just don't think they're my favorite movies.
Sure.
Because of all the things we've mentioned. Like, if you can pull it off, then awesome. And I'm impressed. Yeah. But, like, Castaway is one of my favorite movies ever. But I think it's a very difficult thing to pull off. And that's why I don't enjoy it as much. Yeah, and
similarly, like, because it's difficult to pull off, I do really enjoy it when they do. Yep. It's like, it's an impressive feat, for sure. But I don't know, I'm always down for, like, something new and different. And this doesn't happen that often. So when it does, I'm definitely interested in seeing how they convey this and what they can pull off. You know? Yeah. So I'm on the fence on it as, like, a genre thing in general. Definitely for short films. Boom. That's great. Short films, yeah, that's great for you. Keep doing that.
Short, silent films. Short, almost completely silent films.
It's so good for short form. It really is.
Yeah.
It's so, like, groomed for that.
I don't even know what to call this genre because it's not silent films. It's like almost silent films.
Yeah, I think the title of this will just be Movies with Little to No Dialogue.
Nice.
That's kind of a mouthful. But Wally's only one word, so it'll look fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I think that's all I got.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Thanks, everybody, for listening once again. We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for voting and tweeting and commenting and all that good stuff. We really appreciate it. If you want to keep supporting the show, then just keep doing that. Keep talking about the show. Keep sharing it with your friends. Keep talking to us. That'll be great. Tune in next week. We're going to be talking about The Room. The Room in honor of the disaster artist. So not the amazing Academy Award-winning film Room, but The Room, the terrible movie with Tommy Wiseau. So if you want to put yourself through that, watch it. And we're going to talk about it next week.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that's it, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See y'all.